everybody to Pro League. We're in the midst of a possible very big upset. SOS taking down two very strong Terrans in Flash and TY. He's got 2 to go, but looking quite good so far.
Now the question in most people's minds is, what are the orders of the Pro Tosses we see next? I think everyone has kind of put life out of the picture. Kind of crazy thing to say, but here in late 2015, he just has not been performing. No longer one of the top 4 players for KT Rolster. No longer really fits into their picture here, fits into the puzzle. Let's find out who it's going to be. I'm leaning towards Zest first.
Well, let's see who they do want to use here. It is going to be Zest.
Man, I'm 2 for 2 on the TY Zest predictions, man.
You are, man. Let's see if this one works out for them. Zest lost yesterday to SOS on a pretty gimmicky style. I'm sure he's not going to fall for it this time.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are probably like, I can't believe they would send Zest on the same map that he lost on yesterday. I'm like, well, he should have won. He most likely could have won that game, right? He had all the pieces to win that game. The same way that Flash should have won yesterday as well on the same map that he did win on today. I actually think Zest can take this. People need to shut down SOS's gold bases. They need to be more aggressive. They need to stop letting him get away with this, because he has won now 3 games off of this type of style.
Yeah, he has. Well, they certainly prepared. I'm sure Zest, after losing yesterday, was like, okay, I got to change my builds for this guy. I got to make sure I'm on top of that. He cannot let this happen again. Zest is their best player. He should be able to shut it out and finish this series.
Yep, that's the thing. He should be able to, but will he? Zest has shown very, even results here in PvP so far. SOS, quite the same, 3 and 4 for him. And overall, of course, Zest being that ace player for KT does get a bunch of kills overall when he does come out. Guys, I think this is the time to go into game number 6. Map number 6 is going to be Vaani Research Station for Zest versus SOS right now. Down here in the south, in the red for KT Rolster, the Protoss player, he is Zest.
His opponent on a 2-win streak to the top is SOS, still the last man standing. 1 win away from going to the final map. Echo going to game 7.
Yeah, it's all about, can he try and deal with Zest again? This is probably his biggest hurdle in this entire sort of, I guess, team kill. If he can take down him, he did it yesterday. He did it very cheesily, very gimmickly there, going for that gold base in the middle of the map. Zest didn't have an answer for it, and he got caught out when it came to the big fight.
You know what's funny is, if I had to guess, I would actually say I think SOS is going to try to take the gold base again. I'm not even kidding.
No, I actually agree with you. I think it's he saw that Zest had trouble dealing with it, and that's a very specific thing that Zest probably wasn't preparing for today. He wasn't like, okay, I'm going to come out in game number 6 against SOS again. So I'm not sure if he went back home and was like, okay, exactly what did I do wrong and how am I going to practice against this? And I don't know. He's been looking so strong with these kinds of strategies as well.
I think maybe, the coach is like, well, let's look at that. You had Colossus range. You had more units. You were right on top of his base. You had the extra gateways and you didn't attack. Just kill him next time. Let's focus on the match at hand for tomorrow. I mean, those were like the basic things, and SOS had enough time to get the money, to have enough units to hold, and then he got Zest out of position on the ramp with a bad engagement, and Zest didn't have +1, and SOS got +1 very early. So those are the big key things as to what went wrong in the previous match yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, like, a lot of things went wrong. I think the biggest nail in the coffin was certainly like Zest trying to defend his like pocket natural main base from like the lower ground, and then getting caught on the ramp. It was like such an ugly engagement, and even after it being such an ugly engagement, all his Colossus were still alive, like trading out fairly decently. I feel like maybe if he had a good position, he could have maybe even won that fight.
We've seen that so many times in PvP and even TVT. These mirror matchups, very position based, especially as you get later on in the game. You have to have a good spread on your Colossi. and you especially can't get every single unit of yours time warped, which is exactly what happened to Zest. So
Yeah,
kind
on
of
a
a nightmare
ramp.
fight there.
So I feel like a lot of the games we saw yesterday, we talked about it a lot yesterday, were just nerves, sloppy play. It was not, post-season level play. People are getting nervous, they're getting stressed because this is finally the first match of the year where if you lose it, you're out of the tournament for these teams, right? They've been ahead in points the entire season. This whole season was pretty just set for these top 4 teams to make it. There was never really any big upsets from the lower teams. Nothing really came close. So the first time all year, if you think about it, these teams are like, oh my god, this could be it. If Jin Air wins today, KT Rolster is out of the tournament. See you next year, assuming there is Pro League next year, So just a scary moment. And you see tensions get high. You see sometimes mistakes as a result. We are seeing a fast nexus for both players. No tech until this exact moment.
Yeah, but just going for that early nexus in the backdoor natural. We do see that Twilight on the way for SOS, so maybe going for that blink again.
And I think he's the first player to actually move across the map and get a scout down. If I recall, I think this was actually the same build that Zest did yesterday.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit faster on the Nexus, actually. Actually, maybe not. He did go for the same Sentry kind of play right after the Nexus as well, actually.
I find it just somewhat peculiar that Zest does not go and check for a gold base or anything like that. He's really just kind of following the build. SOS with a fast blink here, a few extra gateways, but safety robo for Zest.
Good choice. It's really going to shut down anything that he can do with blink.
And DTs, he's just playing it as TY should have last game. I just really feel if you're playing against SOS, all you have to do is play safe. Not to say that Zest, or rather that SOS cannot play the late game, but he's just not as good at it as TY and Zest.
Yeah, certainly not. He certainly has had a lot of problems in the late game, especially in PvP. I do remember a lot of them going pretty poorly, simply because he makes the wrong compositional choice and takes bad fights.
Well, this is going to be a nice scout here for Zest. He's sending a very early hallucination scout across the map with those 2 sentries that he did make early on. SOS instead spent a lot of that gas on making the Twilight Council on the blink, which arguably won't get too much damage done here. So Zest sees the entire base, sees the Twilight Council, and knows exactly what's up.
You even sees the probe count and no gases at the back door. He also stopped by the gold pace on the way over, his first attempt to find out what's going on.
Yeah, making sure that's not going to happen again.
He's got a ton of resources banked up here, and he's just not going to make units, as he's now going to try to, I think, rush out Forge and the Robo Bay. He's taking the gases first because he has that information. He knows that Blink is not going to break him.
Ooh. Did you see that? That would have been pretty
I don't
important.
believe he did.
That's like the money thing to know. It's like you're warping in Stalkers with that pylon that's at the Zelnaga Tower. It's like clearly, possibly some aggression.
I think he wants Zest to think he's going to attack, but I don't think that he actually is.
More Prism on the way. It could mean something here. And we are seeing a poke in the ramp. Oh
boy.
My goodness.
Has to use 2 force fields here, and the blink is done.
Blink is done.
But, I mean, this attack is just ill-fated. I'm even surprised he force-fielded like that.
Well, he's going to force out Photon Overcharge. He's going to deplete the energy on 2 of those sentries. And Stalkers can run up again in due time, or simply go into that War Prism and gump from behind and harass that natural.
Yeah, probably going to use the War Prism to maybe draw these units out of position. He's got 5 Stalkers here at the front, but with an Immortal, it is still going to be pretty hard to break the ramp. Really needs to, as I said before, get some units back there in that natural and cause some havoc first.
It's going to be a Photon Cannon. It's not ready yet. I think he might just kill like 2 probes, maybe even force units back and just lift, try to save the Zealots.
He can kill that cannon as well. That's going to give him a lot of options later down the track.
A big warp in, though, is kind of risky. It's going to be pretty expensive to try to find damage versus this, as Zest can also just warp in defensively at home. This cannon's going to buy a lot of time. I think he's just going to pick up. Yep, I think that's the best way to do this. Force the cannon to retarget.
Oh, could do something here. He's going to float out Photon Overcharge and a warp in at the same time. Oracle is going to get a scout at the main base, hallucinated.
Zest has all the advantages in this game. He's defended everything. He's got Immortals out. He's got his own Colossus coming up first, as I was mentioning before. Just get that Forge up, get the Robo Bay, and now he's getting a 3rd base faster. He's got extra gas because he didn't commit to Blink. He doesn't need that. He didn't commit to extra stalkers. He committed to the tech that you're going to want in the mid game.
Stu Immortal is also quite fantastic, especially in smaller armies against, the one extra stalker, I suppose, that SOS has made. Also, if you can get on top of the Colossi, they can do some nice damage, but not a bad addition to your army if you can squeak them out.
More and more gateways being added for Zest now, getting all the production he needs up. The Warp Prism not going to find anything either. There is no Blink, so he cannot really be chased down. Always that threat there.
I think the Warp Prism is going to be good later on if Zest ever moves out for an attack. I just don't expect he's going to find much damage with it now. The Colossus has a ton of bodyguards with it, even a small Blink Stalker force. If it gets undetected, probably not going to be able to kill it, especially not with only 4 Stalkers. Look at this. Never going to happen. He's even moving up to the Watchtower. I think he wants to get rid of that pylon maybe.
Oh, Warp Prism heading towards that third base. Nothing there at all to stop it, so it's going to force everything back for Zest again.
Yep, sending that back now.
There we go.
No pro kills.
It's like me just observing. Whoops.
Moonlake giving the radio broadcast of what's actually going on in this game.
Someone's going to observe this thing, right?
So, I mean, look at the supplies. Look at Zest's army. The one thing he's missing is the +2. That's it. Charge also a little bit behind, but not as important at this stage in the game as neither player will be attacking at any moment soon.
Does Zest get a Temple Archives up yet?
I don't know.
I do not think so. Not currently. No, he's just simply going into charge from here. He defends more of these drops.
This drop has found some money, man. From 4 Zealots alone, he hasn't made any extra ones.
Very cost efficient here. And just while he's doing all this, SOS is just building that army at home, making sure he's got what he needs against whatever Zest is making.
Stargate is the first building where you're like, okay, this may go towards that late game. Zest already thinking about those Tempests.
This is interesting because SOS, if he realizes he does have that charge advantage, he also has Archons, which Zest does not. That's why Zest is kind of setting up a wall here. We're going to see a Colossus draw.
I didn't like
no.
No one likes that. No one wants to see that.
Nobody wants to. Like, not even the fans. Like,
Fans
SOS's #1 fan, the crowd was like, oh, please, no. Like,
don't do it.
she's like holding her little, like, SOS picture really tight right now.
It's like, why would you do it?
Especially when there's like already a cannon there and Zest has got some units back to defend with the Mothership Corps.
Look at this. He's moving his whole army down the map as well, looking for aggression on the third base.
This makes sense. The wall isn't even really tight. He's making a huge warping of Archons now, though.
Oh, that's a double warping as well. Look at this.
Man. He can actually micro quite a bit with this. This is actually really scary, and he can hit the third base at the same time.
Yeah,
That's
they got charged.
Huge amount of units coming in here. He's going to totally stop the mining.
Oh,
And
man,
at the same
Zest
time,
is struggling.
he's coming in here. The Blink going for the cannon.
Third base going to get targeted down here. He's moving all his army back. SOS got to be so careful here. He might even have to recall out.
Yeah, he can't get caught here, but as you mentioned, he does have an escape.
There's a
chance here.
Colossus
He's
in
going
here.
to go for this Nexus.
He is, and he's going to get it.
Should be able to get all those Zealots also bunching up. SOS also going to take the fight. He can't do that. He's going to recall.
And a huge win here. In fact, he's going to kill 2 Colossi more for free.
This can't happen. You can't be losing Colossi like this.
This Time Warp may save one, but he's not going to lose the other. And he's even chasing now with that Colossus.
Get him, Colossus, in the War Prism.
He's chasing him down. He will have to retreat now.
He's got to be careful of the counterattack from Zest. That might be his last option here after losing a base. The longer this game goes from here, the bigger the army is going to be for SOS.
Yeah. But does SOS, or rather Zest, go for it? We saw some hesitation from him in their last game on the same map. Looks like he's just going to take the base back.
Wow. Well, bold move there from Zest. I mean, he's just going to have to hold on here. And it's going to be a pretty hard hold when SOS finally decides to move out with his superior army.
If he does this, he has to go. Yeah, he has to go back into Tempest Tech. He's never going to catch up in Colossi. I don't think SOS is going to let him hold on to this base. He's not just going to sit back and let this happen.
Look at this. As Zest's army is getting split up here in the middle of the map, he's not even keeping everything together. This can actually be jumped on. Oh boy.
Man, he's going to lose all of these units for free. Zest 1Aing his way to defeat tonight.
Well, not out of it yet.
Gets an extra Colossus, though.
Yeah, 4 Colossus against 5 now, so he really needed that one. And plus there's 1 in that Warp Prism still doing damage, which is
still happening.
Absolutely ridiculous here.
Uh-oh, doing a little dance here. Has to be careful, especially with these stalkers. Don't want to fly into any cannons either.
He's just styling right now. He's looking for
He's
the
going to
curves.
lose it, but he's buying so much time with this. So, I mean, it's good for him, but he's also not set up in the middle of the map. Now he is. The Tempests are coming.
Yeah, you might want to try and attack before they're finally out here.
He scouted, actually, with that drop at the same time. It looks like he is setting up for a possible attack here. But there will be 2 Tempests out by the time it does hit.
Well, 2 Tempests aren't too many. It's really when you worry about, 4 to 6, it gets ugly, and when he starts to really get one shot, he's on his Colossus.
If those Archons can get underneath the army and also buffer for the Zealots, he can definitely get underneath those Tempests. Wasting his charge on these pylons, though, so he's not going to be able to get in there anytime soon.
Yeah, does need to wait just a bit here. He's got such a scary army, and he is threatening this so much right now. Not much of a SimCity setup anymore. He had a bunch of cannons before, some pylons, but this time, it's a bit different.
Big warp in here. Maxed out time to go. Cannot wait any longer, not before these Tempests get too big in number.
Yeah, 2 more Tempests are coming out right now.
Time Warp is going to be important here. He's trying to zone these Zealots out. This army mostly Zealots, and if he can't break through that wall, even though it is reduced, as you mentioned, Valdez, if he can't break through that wall, the Tempests are eventually going to wear this army back down to nothing. This is how Zest wins this game, is if he can just hold on and keep those Tempests firing.
Well, here we go. Finally, Zest's army is looking like it might be forced to attack. Not a bad place for it to be, doing a lot of damage to those Zealots.
He's trying to target here onto the Colossi of Zest, and he does take out one of them. And here's the blink forward as well. It looks like SOS taking a really fantastic fight. Only Tempest left over in the Colossi in the back.
Yep, blinking now underneath the Colossi and the Tempest. You can see SOS continuing to warp in units, even though... Oh, man, this is just too much. He's going to kill the last of the Tempest, and he will take this game.
He's going to take it completely.
GG.
This is happening. SOS brings us to Game 7. He could potentially get a reverse ult kill and knock KT Rolster, the defending champions, out of postseason.
It's going to be on Echo, and it has to be stats, right?
It has to. I don't think you send out life on this map. It's unbelievable that SOS has even forced it to get this far. I think somewhere in the back of the minds of all of the players that came out for KT, they were saying, oh, we're going to get this win. Flash is like, I already got 3. TY comes out. I got 2 people behind me. Zest comes out. Oh, I'll just play it a bit passive on this map. I can beat him late game. Gets destroyed by a attack there very late on before he can get out enough Tempest.
I think Zest played the late game very well. Getting the Tempest out was the only play in that situation, but what led him to that bad situation was poor control and decision-making when the attack with the Colossus drop came in. He didn't know how to just box 2 groups of units to defend. He literally 1-8 his units all back, then he 1-8 them all to the third, then he 1-8 them back, then he 1-8 them to the third again, and by that time it was like, uh-oh, I've lost kind of both sides of the coin here. I've lost too many probes in the main base, and I'm losing Colossi there, and my third base might go down if I don't send everything over there, and that gave SOS a massive advantage. And then when he moved out for the counterattack, he 1-8 his army again without controlling it over that little pedestal, over that little area with a bunch of trees, that unwalkable terrain. So it got split into 2. He lost another 3 Colossus. Playing nervous or just playing a bit off? I don't know what else to say.
He got really put out of position a lot by those Warp Prisms. The Warp Prism harass was really the biggest thing in that game. It ended up doing so much damage, especially with that Colossus drop. There's really, you don't have units in place for it or not enough units. It's like, you are going to be pulled out. It's the name of the game on that kind of map, which is why I'm so surprised we didn't see TY on that map. Yeah. Why not just use him there and waste someone else on the map before where it's going to really not favor TY? It was a huge mistake by KT. Huge oversight.
It's some awesome, funky play also that we're seeing out of SOS. Just every single game he comes out, it's a new, innovative build that we haven't seen before. It's not normal, and it's almost like we're seeing some kind of, I don't know, guy from the future come in here, kind of like Hero would play sometimes in a lot of, Liquid Hero would play in a lot of matchups, but would not be as successful, maybe because his multitasking wasn't quite as good, his macro wasn't quite as good, but SOS is making it work. It's awesome to watch.
It really is. It's creativity in different matchups, back to back to back. Moonblade is 100% correct, right? TY makes more sense on Vaani Research Station, but I was thinking the same. I was thinking, you know what? They're confident. They want to close this out early, and I think that's kind of been KT's mindset. That's how I would have approached this. I think that feeling of frustration is starting to bubble up now within the KT roster, they're saying, okay, we just play late. We play for the late game. We beat SOS there. We've got better players. We've got better players on our bench. And, it's not working anymore.
Yeah, well, guys, we're going to take another short 3-minute break. We'll be right back.